warnings out there. We'll detail in a second, but we can't turn our back on the flood risk. We've got to not drive across any water-covered roads. Texas, in particular, has a multiple-day significant flood risk ahead.
Yeah, you look at the rainfall expected. No surprise why we've got that likelihood for flash flooding, places like Houston.
Yeah, and April and May historically have been some bad times of year for Houston and flooding.
Now you see that on the map on the left-hand side, the areas at risk for some flooding, areas of severe weather as well. Two different maps for that. You can see that we get areas right in the plains, and also as we're working our way toward, say, the mid-Atlantic, especially say on North Carolina, heads up for you.
Yeah, you know, it's that time of year where people are starting to head to those beaches too. So if you are out, just enjoying the scenery, make sure you keep an eye to the sky. All right, we've got a little cluster of thunderstorms that are producing some really large hail, some really big winds, and we've got tornado warning. So we've been watching this complex of thunderstorms roll off towards the east, bringing the potential for 70-mile-per-hour winds, golf ball to ping pong ball-sized hail, and again, two areas of possible rotation, one just to the south and southwest of Concordia, another one farther to the south, closer to I-70 here in the state of Kansas. So let's start looking along the line. Again, you can see the hail cores. That's the pinky purple color. That's where we likely are seeing some of that large hail. So up to the northern flank, down to the south. Outside of that, we've got really, really heavy rain coming down out of these storms. So going to be an issue on the local roadways and perhaps eventually along I-70. Here's our first tornado warning. Pretty clear area of rotation there. So this is north and east of Hayes. These storms are moving off towards the east and southeast. So eventually coming into a connection there with I-70. Farther to the north, this one a little bit more broad area of rotation, but still at least some overall rotation within the storm. And when you get systems like this, these complexes, these bow echoes, sometimes on the northern flank and the southern flank, you can see these tornado spin-ups, and this is what we're looking at right now. So Gorham, you're up next. Russell, Homer, Lucas, and Dorrance. These are all communities on the southern tornado warning. Areas farther to the north, these are going to be communities around and to the south of Concordia. You can see right around Beloit, just to the north, we've got a little notch there, and that would be where that possible tornado would be sitting. So again, a closer look, a little bit tighter rotation now. Again, on the north side of Beloit. So you're going to be watching Plum Creek. You're going to be looking at Asherville. These are all communities that could be looking at this potential tornado. Outside of that, you can see we are warned for severe weather north to south on this line. And unfortunately, a lot of these are warned for potent winds, talking 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And again, that hail that gets us into half-dollar, golf ball, even ping pong ball-sized hail. So some larger hailstones out of these storms as well. Severe thunderstorm watch continues until 6 o'clock. So what we're looking at is this area of thunderstorms that's near Concordia now to continue to race off towards the south and east. I think they will stay potent here as they move through the afternoon. And what we're probably looking at is one of those complexes of thunderstorms that will produce the very strong winds and the gusts and the large hail through this afternoon. We may even see some back building on this farther off to the south and west. So that's something the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted here with a frontal boundary nearby. So along that, we may see some more thunderstorm development in this overall complex. So I think things are going to stay intense here through the afternoon. Actually already seeing that a little bit here now on the south side, right along I-70. So we've seen a little bit more of a southern reach or a southern extent. So don't be surprised here south of I-70 where we've got a lot of available energy where we could be looking at more storms developing. Tons of lightning out of these as well. So even within and outside of that severe thunderstorm warning, these things are creating a lot of lightning. And when you see these increases or these lightning jumps, as we refer to them, that means we've got a storm system that is strengthening or remaining very strong. So something to watch for. Salina 82, Wichita 81. So Mike, we've got the warmth, we've got the moisture, we showed that available energy. This is just one of the spots where things are going to stay very active here through the afternoon.
All right, Alex, thanks for that. And then there'll be
problems because we're looking at a lot of thunderstorms down towards the Houston area. In fact, Houston reporting stronger thunderstorms right now. Nothing severe, though. But what we've got is an area of very heavy rain and a ton of lightning. And both of these are going to cause problems into southeast Texas, whether or not we get warnings out of these storms. So we're watching for a flash flood potential. Already seen some issues. And again, anytime you're hearing thunder, you need to the inside. These storms are very, very electrical, so a lot of lightning. North and east side of the Houston metro area there in Harris County under a flash flood warning right now. We've got Aldine and Cloverleaf and Jacinto City under that warning, so we're watching those low spots, those underpasses, those usual suspect locations. But again, you may encounter other roadways that are submerged, and if you do, you know the drill. Turn around, take a different route. Too many times we don't know the status of the road underneath, if that's been compromised. And again, it's very difficult to just judge the depth, especially when we don't have a lot of daylight. Remember, it's overcast, it's raining. It's going to be a tough day to see. Tough travel right now on I-10 and other surrounding highways there in the metro area. So use caution, slow down. Headlights are on, whatever you can do to ensure a safe travel. It's not going to be an easy peasy, driving at regular speed day on I-49, I-69 as well. We've got the flood watches that remain in effect, and here's the reason why. Again, the rain coming down now. Over the last 24 hours, some areas have already seen between 2 and 3 inches. We've got more rain still falling in the area, so Dr. Nab, it's not going to take much to tip the scales here and bring us the flooding. And again, while we don't have a huge chance of severe weather, there's a possibility we could see an isolated severe storm, but obviously flooding and the lightning right now, the big threats.
Yeah, water's going to be.
It's helping to fuel our thunderstorms, warming temps. Again, it's the spring season, right? That clash between the warmer, the cold along our frontal boundaries. And right now we've got that ridge settled into the middle of the country, into the southeast as well. Temperatures on the warmer side. We've got plenty of low 80s right now with afternoon highs greater than that in some of these areas. How about 91 in Savannah? Now, Atlanta, you're going to stay pretty close to where you are. We've seen the cloud cover around 86 for Oklahoma City, near 90 in Dallas, and low 90s to mid 90s into parts of West Texas. That would include the Midland area, expecting a high around 95 degrees. Now, today I mentioned that ridge across the middle of the country. We've got dips in the jet stream out west and another one out east that's keeping temperatures at least closer to average. So not overly cool, not overly hot, pretty close to average. But that high pressure is going to strengthen and move east later this week, bringing us those above average temperatures moving forward. So something we always want you to remember is our scorching car scale here at the Weather Channel. Really important illustration of just how hot and dangerous, even deadly, it gets in a car in just a few moments. Naples, Florida, with a high of 86 after just 10 minutes inside that vehicle, 105 degrees, 120 after 30 minutes. So critical. You look before you lock. Never leave children or pets inside the car. And Mike, we also got to think about other things that may be in the car. That kind of heat's going to really, mess those things up.
Absolutely, Alex. Thank you for that.
To the north of Wichita here in the short term. Right now, Wichita, you are in the clear. So you're looking at this going, wow, we don't have anything what Hayes has, but there the storms are rocking and rolling. Big winds up to 70 miles an hour possible. Hail, we've been seeing reports of ping pong, golf ball sized hail. And then there's also a potential for a tornado. We've got a tornado warning that continues here on the southern end of this warning. Closer look at this. You can see we're warned north to south on this line, by the way, for again those winds and hail. Very heavy rainfall and frequent lightning. But here around the Luray area, right there is our area of rotation. So north and east of Russell, this storm is moving to the south and east. This entire complex is moving to the south and east. So as we time out this area, south of Luray now, moving towards Delhi, Russell, Wolf Creek, and Bunker Hill.
Severe storms there, and severe storms largely responsible for the billion-dollar disasters we've seen so far this year. 7 different billion-dollar disasters. You can see where those are on the map behind us here. California stands out, but certainly, Dr. Nab, you look at the Midwest in particular, a lot of action there and a big cost.
Especially when tornadoes hit big metro areas like the March 31st in Little Rock, and then that spread into
$1 billion disaster per month. The total already exceeds $19 billion, and we've already seen 97 deaths.
On pace for 21 different billion-dollar disasters. The record, by the way, if you're wondering, is 22. So we're on a rapid pace right now.
Yeah, so this is rivaling years like 2017 and 2020. If we have a impactful severe storm or hurricane season or fire season in the fall, this could become a very expensive year. And we also need to highlight there are a few other potential billion-dollar disasters that are still so recent, they're still being evaluated. What about all those hailstorms that we had in the middle of the country, but also in Florida that did some damage to homes?
Absolutely. I mean, we saw the video, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago of damage to structures. Highest years, you mentioned 2020, that was 22 disasters. we could very well get within that realm, and we have over the last several years.
You know, it really doesn't seem like you can get one large thunderstorm event to not cause $1 billion of damage anymore.
Yeah, especially the way that the weather systems have been behaving this year. We've had, nearly weekly some sort of parent weather system that produces not just a couple storms here and there, but widespread severe weather.
Some staggering costs in 2017, courtesy of Irma. What else did we have?
And a lot of fire.
Harvey? Yeah, and fires as well.
We need to think about hurricane season is right around the corner.
I know.
One tropical storm or hurricane can send the numbers sky high.
And we are into the springtime, into summertime flood season. What if some of the flooding this week in Texas is damaging? That could be a $1 billion disaster kind of setup. So we have a long way to go. And again, reminds all of us that we need to be prepared and protected financially. This is why we all need insurance, because these costs, who's going to pay for the repairing the damage? You got to be insured for the insurance company to pay for your damage.
There are areas that are less likely, but as you point out, everybody needs the insurance because each and every state has seen a $1 billion disaster. Obviously, there are some more vulnerable. Of course, we look at Texas, obviously the size of the state, proximity to the Gulf of Mexico, and then North Carolina, another spot. But all across the South, Central, the Plains, the Midwest, into the East.
And these are the states, the ones in red, that you have the overlap between significant impacts from severe weather and significant impacts at the coast and inland from tropical cyclones.
And even winter weather, because we get all the seasons, right? So we're just all at risk, right? We'll talk a little bit more about this topic coming up. They're underground with Alex Wilson. I'm Mike Bettis. We'll check in with our expert, Dr. Rick Knapp, here in just a moment. Storms will be kind of the MO today. A lot of different areas are watching for thunderstorms, multiple threats, hail, high winds, and some flooding rain.
Yeah, we've got a lot on the table and a few areas at risk. We start, of course.
Scientist, Dr. Hayhoe, always great to talk to you. I want to ask you this. Do you believe that we are doing enough, fast enough, to reverse or maybe stop catastrophic events from happening?
I don't believe I know that we aren't.
A lot of people would look at a headline like that and think, is it just too late?
It is too late to avoid the impacts that are already.
They don't necessarily see the effects where they are. What are some of the most significant or most rapid changes that we've seen that would maybe, encourage people to act?
Well, when we call this issue global warming, people say, well, it's cold.
All right,
I want to get back to severe storms because there are plenty of things that are going to happen for us today. And so Kansas in particular.
Down to the Atlantic hurricane season continues, less than a month away, Dr. Knapp. And so many times we see a simple headline kind of take all the attention. And this year we've heard of an average, if not a little bit below average season. But we don't want to get too caught up in that. A lot of times it only takes one storm to make a season.
Yeah, we use that phrase a lot. It only takes one when the seasonal forecasts come out, because there's a lot of discussion about the numbers of storms that are anticipated for the year. But when you look back at these years, can anybody tell me how many storms we had in any of those years? I mean, you tend to forget the numbers. Now, maybe you can remember if it was average or below average or general, but you forget the numbers afterward, especially after there is a big impact. So, Ian was the latest reminder about how it only takes one. But I wanted to take you through a few of the past other examples in the last half century or so. And it's pretty dramatic when you look at some of these storms and you look at where they happened and what kind of season in which they happened. And I was living in Texas in both 1980 and in 1983. And Allen in 1980 was this long list.
Otherwise a very quiet season.
Yes, so you don't get much until the peak of the season. And notice that Allen is the only one in the deep tropics. The rest of it was shut down. Now, let's look back. There's Allen's individual track, how long it is. Now look at 1983. 4 storms total. Only one major hurricane formed right on our doorstep in the Gulf of Mexico. There it is. So that was another, it only took one. Look at 1991, 8 storms, 4 hurricanes, 2 majors because of all the wind shear. But that one hurricane was a Cat 5 landfall in a below average year. Folks, we got to get ready for this year no matter what the numbers say.
Dr. Knapp, thanks so much. Right now on Weather Underground, we're tracking dangerous storms from the plains into the mid-Atlantic.
Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Weather Underground. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson, as always, with our expert, Dr. Nab. Stormy day today, but it's not just severe weather that we've got to be prepared for. It's flooding.
Yeah, and yesterday I started to get more and more concerned about what could happen in Texas and in Houston as an example. And today, north side of Houston, the Aldine area, we've got a couple areas where water is covering roads, threatening structures. And this is just day number one of a long week ahead in Texas.
All right, that map shows you there on the left where the threat is for some flooding today. Yes, Houston, you're squarely in that zone. It's ongoing right now. Could get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, and then we've got another area to watch, or a few areas to watch of severe weather into the plains, and then another one, a ton of lightning and obviously that heavy rain. We do, however, have some really dangerous severe weather currently ongoing across parts of Texas, and this includes around and south of Concordia, just to the north of I-70 here. So this is a complex that we think is going to survive and remain strong as it continues off towards the south and east. So eventually, looking at places like Wichita and Emporia, portions of I-135 will be watching for the dangerous effects. In addition to heavy rain, which is going to make it blinding on some of these roadways, we have seen some exceptional hail and wind out of these storms. So a considerable threat tag on this one. Again, warning for golf ball, ping pong ball sized hail. You can see all of the pink here, and that's the radar picking up on the hailstones. And you can also be ready for some really strong winds, talking 70+ mile-per-hour wind gusts. You see that backwards C shape to the overall structure of the storm? That is a significant indicator that we've got some big winds. Concord, Star, Shirley, Clyde, Clifton, all communities in the path of this dangerous storm. And when we look at that hail core right now, currently over Meredith, over Highway 24, we're getting up greater than 1.5 inches in diameter. So again, ping pong, golf ball sized hail, perhaps even up to egg size hail, something that we'll be watching for. And again, expecting and anticipating that this complex of thunderstorms will continue to race to the southeast and remain strong through the next several hours. So we've got a severe thunderstorm watch that remains in effect. Here's Ellsworth, Lincoln, and Russell counties under also a considerable threat of severe weather. There's a tornado possible tag on this one as well, and we've seen some areas of spin along with this. Not necessarily out of the question or unusual to see these tornado possible tags or even tornado warnings when you've got a cluster of thunderstorms like this. So Wilson, Tescott, Bennington, Salina, these are all areas that are going to see this area of thunderstorms move in. And again, even outside of the dangerous severe effects, we've got blinding rainfall. So a tough afternoon to be out on the roads here in this part of the plains. I mentioned that severe thunderstorm watch. Here it is. That takes us down to Emporia, Wichita. Again, 135, Interstate 35, I-70. Really in the short term, you guys are in play. We've got a lot of available energy. So these storms continuing to feed on this energy and riding right along that boundary, remaining strong over the next several hours. So early to mid-afternoon, I think, going to remain dangerous in this part of the country. Likely to see hail greater than 2 inches in diameter across this zone. Again, we're already really close to that. And again, those very, very strong winds likely to continue out of these storms. I do think we'll see a little bit more of a western extent. That's something the Storm Prediction Center has been highlighting, given a frontal boundary nearby. So I think we'll begin to see even a few more thunderstorms. And so this entire complex or cluster, Mike, continues to move into a place like Wichita, even parts of Missouri and northern and eastern parts of Oklahoma as we move through the evening. I do think we'll see some weakening eventually, but in the meantime, the short term, things will stay strong.
All right, Alex, thanks for that. We know a couple